Hello, students. I would like to take this time to introduce myself and welcome you to Social Work 3360, American Social Welfare Policy. My name is Richard Coleman, and I'll be your professor for this course. Some of you I recognize and you know me from previous classes, and there are some new names that I'm not as familiar with. So I wanted just to kind of take this opportunity to welcome you to class, to say hi, and to kind of walk through the syllabus with you as well. A little bit about me. I have been a social worker, I'm going to date myself now, since 1983. So 39, almost 40 years that I've been at this particular piece of work. I originally hail from the state of Mississippi. I've been here in Minnesota for about the last 38 years or so. And I have worked as a social worker for all of that particular time. So I tend to get bored fairly easy, and I've had a number of different jobs across the profession. So I've worked as a mental health counselor. I've worked as parole probation officer for high risk felons. I have worked with as a consultant for large foundation. I've worked for Ramsey County as a child protection worker, supervisor, and then division manager. Um, I've done a number of different things over the course of my career. So literally from micro practice to meso practice to macro practice, I've had some interest and some work in all those particular areas. So I bring that wealth of knowledge and background to my teaching profession. I've been here at Scholastica for about 11 years now. I am married. I have 4 adult kids and 2 grandchildren. I enjoy music, jazz in particular, and I also like to travel. So that's a little bit about me. In terms of me as an instructor, I'm pretty much what you see is what you get. So I'll always be honest and just kind of upfront and straightforward with you in terms of the things that we need to get done to make sure that you're successful in this class. But I'm also a person that understands that life happens, and having been an adult student myself, I recognize that there are many stresses and challenges that we face by trying to work and maintain a family and to go to school at the same time. So I would encourage you to reach out and to ask for assistance as you need it. Don't wait and try to do everything at the last minute, or wait and ask and think about, well, if I ask, how will this be interpreted? My job is to help you be successful in terms of becoming a social worker. So I will do what I need to do, but I just ask you to reach out on those instances where you need help. All right, so with that, let me pull up the screen, and then I just thought about a couple of the jobs that I do. I'm also an emergency service crisis worker now because I get bored easy, like I said, and I work with victims of domestic violence and human trafficking on the weekends. And I've also done some consulting work with cognitive behavioral therapy for repeat offenders. In a multiple DWI program. So just a smattering, and there's some things that I probably have left off in terms of that whole 40-year span, but we'll just get to that when we get to it. All right, so let me pull up the syllabus and let's just kind of talk a little bit about class and kind of where things are at. All right, so here's how we're going to do this. So first of all, here's all my contact information. So email, this is my Zoom link here. This is where we'll be meeting for our Zoom lab classes every other week, so bi-weekly. So these are the dates, and we'll be looking at right now from 7:30 until 8:30. And basically what I want to do in the labs is to really give you the opportunity to ask questions about the subject matter for that particular week. As you know, classes run from Monday through Sunday. So all of your assignments will be due literally on a Sunday by midnight. So keep that particular piece in mind. And I'm also available to meet with students via phone or via Zoom if there are questions or concerns. And also, we're going to be recording those labs. So if you're not able to make it, you will be able to access that information a little bit later. So let's talk a little bit about social welfare policy. So this is going to be a very different type of a class. And some folks find it fascinating and easy, and some folks find it extremely difficult. So you'll rest somewhere probably between that continuum. But American social welfare policy really has the emphasis on us helping you understand how macro practice works. So it's about how policies are made, how they're developed, that actually govern our society. And so this particular course will take you on a fairly comprehensive uh, adventure in terms of looking at the various forms of social welfare policy. Um, and one of your major assignments will be a huge policy analysis at the end. But some of the things that we will talk about here: mental health, discrimination, child welfare, health care, political strategies, how policies are formed, policy application, client advocacy, the whole 9 yards. So we're going to spend quite a bit of time looking at those particular issues. This also is a writing intensive class. So in the course of your time here at Scholastica, you are required to take 2 integration level classes that are writing intensive. This is your first one. So as implied in the name, it will be writing intensive. And so as we talk about the syllabus, we will look at different assignments and what you'll be expected to actually do. So again, we're going to give you this basic entry-level understanding of public policy and how social services plays a role in that. We will be online in terms of you moving forward and doing the work yourself on a weekly basis. So I've added video lectures for all of the different sections, as well as other readings and other things that you'll need to do. There will be a weekly writing assignment. Some of them more intense than others, but nothing that's not unbearable. So my suggestion to you would be to look into your this course shell as well as the rest of the syllabus to see where assignments are due and plot those on a calendar so that you'll have a reminder to start to work on some of those early. These are our textbooks that we'll be using. American Social Welfare Policy, The Pluralist Approach, 8th edition. It's a fairly easy read. As I look through most of the chapters, most of them are fairly short in duration. So as you're doing your readings, I would encourage you to also keep notes about the things that were there, as well as look at the video lectures so you can get a pretty good understanding about what the week's topic is about. And typically the weekly writing assignment that you will have will be tied to that particular week's actual topic, so it won't be anything too far-fetched. The other book that we will have you read also would be Critical Race Theory, which is available in an ebook on the online library. So you don't, maybe one book you don't have to buy, but there are several chapters out of that you will need to read, and we'll spend a section or so looking at critical race theory and the role that it plays. If you don't have a publication manual, I suggest strongly that you get one. APA 7th edition, because virtually all of our writings in this particular class will have to meet that particular standard. So just to be aware of those things. For you social workers, you already know that we're a competency-based program, so what we're looking at trying to accomplish is throughout the course of your time here with us is that you will walk through all 9 of these particular areas and demonstrate competency. It's a requirement from the Council of Social Work Education, which is the accrediting body for all the schools of social work in the United States. So they tell us what we got to teach and we teach it. Your course objectives here are basically for you to demonstrate ethical and professional behavior and to engage in policy practice. So there are a number of different sub-bullets that are underneath this engaging in policy practice, and these are how the assignments are going to measure them. So we're going to have your weekly written assignments. We're going to do a social work day at the Capitol Legislative Assignment. There'll be a teach-in where you as students will get together and develop questions for an in-class quiz that we will take, but you all will kind of administer that. We'll also do a policy analysis assignment, and so we'll talk a little bit more about that particular assignment because it'll be the main crux of the work that you do while you're in this particular class. We have the accommodations pieces, so if there are questions or concerns about the need for accommodations, then I would have you connect with the Equal Access Center just to see whether you would qualify for those accommodations, which would give you some some leeway in terms of working through this class with some different tools that you might have or that they may offer to you. Our class basically is looking at making sure that you're doing the academic honesty piece. So do your own work. Be careful with the plagiarism. So as you're doing your research for your papers, make sure that you give credit to the authors, because plagiarism is really a fairly serious, significant issue. And we want to make sure that we're doing it and giving credit where credit is actually due. We're not discriminating, so you won't have people that will discriminate against you here at Scholastica. Standards of writing assignments. So scholarly writing is what we're going to adhere to here in APA standards. So making sure that you have critical content, that your spelling and grammar is accurate, that there's a good flow. We encourage you to utilize the College Writing Center and the other resources, as well as Trios and some of the other particular resources, again, that will help you with writing. The distance librarians are also available to assist as well too. Submitting your assignments on time. Scholarly participation and engagement. This is our grading scale. These are the actual assignments, or some of the assignments and kind of the due dates. And I've had those here, but these may change depending on how the year progresses in terms of or if we were able to stay on task. Because sometimes there are things that come up that might alter our schedule somewhat. The policy analysis is the big assignment that you'll be doing pretty much all semester long. This final policy analysis is broken into 4 different parts, and so they'll be due at different times, and we'll give you, you'll turn those in, we'll give you feedback on what needs to be corrected and send them back to you. Then you'll move to the next section and the following section, and then finally the final policy analysis paper. There's also going to be a policy interest paper that I'll have you do probably earlier on, so that you can start to narrow down what it is you want to do your research around, and what policies you want to analyze. And then by the end of the term, we'll be doing a final sharing the results of what you found out in terms of that. So this is a fairly, again, we talked about it being a writing intensive class, but it's also going to be a research intensive class as well too. So I will be bringing in a guest speaker or two to really talk about how to access the database at the library and how to use that, because you'll need to be able to get in and find articles that are going to support the work that you're going to be writing about. And I would say to you, just having taught this class on a number of different occasions, you never have quite as much time as you think you do. So I would encourage you all to make it a point to start earlier on some of these larger writing assignments, because the research is where it takes the most time. Going in, finding the articles, reading them, doing a synopsis of them, figuring out whether they're going to help make the argument that you want to make or answer the questions that you want to ask in your paper. So that's going to be the bigger piece of it as well. So the rest of the syllabus is basically kind of more detailed explanation of what the assignments actually are and the steps in terms of how to walk through them. We're going to do a policy interest paper. We're going to then do that, follow with the annotated bibliography, an annotated outline, a literature review, and then the final draft paper, which is going to be up to 50 points. So it's a good section of your grade. Half of your grade for this particular class will be the combination of these particular assignments, all 4 steps. So just to give you a little bit of a synopsis of what's there. This class is different. And let me just try to emphasize what I mean by when I'm saying different. So the classes you had in the fall were pretty much micro level classes, and they were really more hands-on. So a lot of the things that you did were actually skills and values building and role plays and simulations and things of that particular nature, being able to demonstrate that you understood systems theory, that you understood human behavior in the social environment, that you understood what's entailed in terms of working with actual individuals and families. This is a little different in that we're looking at the work being a little bit more abstract. So it doesn't lend itself very well to simulations, but it's really a class that allows you to look at finding a policy that you are interested in and then doing some critical research in terms of that and sharing what your findings are. So it's really much more of a class that's focused pretty much on what you want to learn about specifically. And then you'll be just kind of charged to kind of follow through that, and we'll be guiding and giving you coaching and assistance along the way as you're preparing those different parts of your paper. So here's what it's going to look like for each week in terms of the readings, in terms of the video assignments, in terms of the weekly written assignments, when things are actually due. And then we're also going to do our Zoom class meetings. So I put in the course shell the link to those particular class meetings that we're going to have. And right now I'm starting out thinking about Mondays from 7:30 to 8:30. And if we need to adjust that to a different time to accommodate more people, we will do that. But let's start there and then just kind of see where it goes. But we will meet every other Monday, not every Monday, but every other Monday, and only for an hour, unless the conversation warrants more. So these are the topics: critical race theory, discrimination in America, poverty in America, how to do the discussion for analyzing social welfare policy, what social welfare policy actually is, voluntary sectors and privatization of human services, legislative advocacy, how bills become law, and that whole process. We're going to spend some time tax policy and income distribution, social insurance programs, access to health care, Medicaid, Medicare, CHIP, mental health policy, chemical dependency policy, child welfare, the politics of food, U.S. environmental policy, and then our final class meeting in May, we're going to do sharing of the policy result of your analysis. So we'll do a couple of slides per person, and then you can talk about what you've actually learned from all of this wonderful research that I'm going to have you do. All right, so that really in a nutshell is the syllabus. So I would encourage you maybe even to print a copy of this for yourself and then highlight when things are actually due. Again, we'll be meeting every other week. And so if you've got questions or concerns, let's make sure that we bring those to those class meetings via Zoom. It's a lot of work, but I think it's nothing that you can't do. So again, if you just kind of lend to your own strengths, I think that you'll be okay in terms of that. And if you need help, then that's what we're actually here for. I'll also again have people coming in to help talk about the writing aspect, because I know that for most students, it was true for me as well when I was in school, was that writing is kind of a terrifying act. But once you learn to do it and do it the right way, then it becomes fairly easy and fairly significant. So really looking at your APA, really understanding, getting ready for your research, and then I think that you'll be okay. So the goal again of this class is to really just to help you all understand a little bit more about the world in which we operate and how important policy is and how it's made, because in a large way it governs the work that we are able to do as social workers. And so we have to be abreast of that, as well as there might be some of you who are thinking about macro social work as well, so working with legislative bodies directly in terms of being able to advocate for the needs of clients and to look at policy that's going to be effective for the greatest amount of people. So I hope this helps you in terms of getting yourself ready for class. So I thank you for your time and attention, and reach out if you need to. Talk to you soon.